The air was heavy with silence when Captain Daniel stepped into the alien hall. His boots echoed against the stone floor, each step sounding louder than he wanted. He felt every pair of eyes on him. Dozens of aliens filled the chamber, their tall frames and glowing armor making him feel small, weak, and out of place. Daniel's ship had broken down near their outpost, and he had come seeking help. But now, standing in front of them, he wasn't sure if asking for help had been the right choice. These people looked like warriors. Not saviors. At the far end of the hall stood their leader's chair, an enormous throne made from dark metal and shining crystal. Around it, alien guards stood tall, holding long energy spears. And then she appeared. A figure stepped forward from the throne's shadow. She was taller than Daniel, her skin faintly glowing under the blue light of the hall. Her armor was marked with battle scars, and her sharp eyes locked onto him like a predator watching prey. This was Kelara, the alien warrior girl who everyone whispered about. Her presence demanded respect. The room grew even quieter as she walked. Down the steps toward him, Daniel swallowed hard. His throat felt dry, but he tried to keep his voice steady. I come in peace. My ship is damaged. I only ask for assistance. Kelara stopped just a few feet away. Her gaze was cold, her voice sharp when she spoke. Human, you stand before warriors of the Valari. We do not welcome weakness. Why should we not throw you out into the void? The words cut deep. Daniel felt his heart pound. He wanted to answer with courage, but fear held his tongue for a second too long. The silence in the hall was crushing, and he could feel the aliens watching, waiting for him to stumble. Finally, he forced himself to speak. Because I am not weak. Humans, we survive. We fight. I only ask for a chance. A ripple of low murmurs passed through the chamber. Some of the aliens seemed amused. Others looked angry. Kelara tilted her head slightly, studying him like he was an insect under glass. Her eyes were sharp, but they carried a strange beauty. And before Daniel could stop himself, before he could think about the danger, a word slipped out of his mouth, soft, nervous, unplanned. Lovely. Word was barely louder than a whisper. He hadn't meant to say it aloud. His brain screamed at him for the mistake. Lovely? To a warrior who had just threatened him? Lovely? The hall went still, dead still. Kelara froze. Her eyes widened slightly. The room's whispers stopped, replaced by stunned silence. Every alien in the hall was staring not at Daniel, but at her. A faint color spread across Kelara's cheeks. She blinked once, then twice. She blushed. Daniel's heart nearly stopped. Did I just make her blush? The mighty alien warrior, feared even by her own kind, looked away for the briefest second. Her cold mask cracked, revealing something human in her expression, shy, uncertain. Then, slowly, she turned her eyes back to him. Her voice was quieter now, lower, but it carried through the entire hall. Say it again. Daniel's breath caught in his chest. He wasn't sure he had heard her right. What? Her expression hardened again, but her cheeks still glowed faintly. She took one step closer, her towering figure now just inches from him. Her voice dropped to a whisper, meant only for him. Say it again, human. The hall was still silent, but now it felt like everyone was holding their breath. The warriors, the council, the guards, every alien present wanted to see what Daniel would do. His mind raced. Was this a trap? A test? Had he offended her or touched on something forbidden? He couldn't tell, but her eyes, those sharp, beautiful eyes, were waiting. Daniel felt his lips move, his voice unsteady. Lovely. The word echoed softly through the hall. This time, Kelara didn't hide her reaction. Her lips curved into the smallest, faintest smile, but a smile nonetheless. The blush deepened across her cheeks. though she quickly turned her head as if to hide it. The council erupted into murmurs, shocked and confused. Some aliens looked horrified. Others looked almost fearful. Daniel stood frozen, unsure whether he had just saved himself or doomed himself. Kelara's voice cut through the chaos, sharp and commanding once more. "Enough!" The hall fell silent at once. She glanced at Daniel, her face once again calm and cold. But her eyes betrayed something else, a spark, a flicker of emotion no one had ever seen before. She leaned closer, so only he could hear her words. "You do not know what you have done, human, but you will learn." Then she turned and walked back toward the throne, her armor clinking softly in the silence. The guards moved aside, but their eyes stayed fixed on Daniel, full of suspicion and unease. Daniel's knees felt weak. His mind spun with questions. Why had one word shaken the hall? Why had Kalara blushed? And what did it mean when she asked him to say it again? One thing was certain. This meeting was only the beginning. The word that shook her. The hall was still buzzing long after Kalara sat back on her throne. The alien council whispered among themselves, their voices sharp and uneasy. Some pointed at Daniel, their eyes filled with suspicion. Others looked at Kalara as if they could not believe what they had just seen. No one had ever seen her blush. No one had ever heard her ask a human to repeat a word. Daniel stood frozen, unsure if he should bow, run, or just disappear. His heart thumped hard in his chest, each beat echoing louder than the last. He replayed the moment in his mind, him saying "lovely," and her whispering, "Say it again." It made no sense. Why would one simple word change everything? Finally, a council elder rose to his feet. His armor gleamed with gold, showing his high rank. He spoke with anger, his voice carrying across the chamber. "This human mocks us. He speaks forbidden words to the commander. Allow me to remove him at once." He pointed his weapon at Daniel. Daniel stiffened, his pulse racing. He wanted to protest, to explain it was an accident, but his voice stuck in his throat. Then Kalara stood. Her chair scraped softly against the floor as she rose. The sound alone silenced the hall. She raised one hand, and the elder froze in place. "No," she said firmly. "The human is mine." The room gasped. Even Daniel felt his breath catch. Hers? What did she mean by that? The elder lowered his weapon reluctantly, though his eyes burned with anger. "Commander, you cannot mean this." That word, Kalara cut him off. "Enough." She stepped down from the throne again, walking toward Daniel with a calm but heavy presence. Every step echoed through the chamber until she stopped just before him. Her voice dropped low, almost like before. "Human, follow me." The guards moved aside as she turned and began walking toward a side passage. Daniel hesitated for a moment, then forced his legs to move. He followed her, feeling dozens of alien eyes drilling into his back. The passage was narrow and dim, the sound of the council fading behind them. Strange glowing runes covered the walls, lighting their path with soft blue light. Daniel glanced at them nervously, wondering if they told some story he was not meant to see. Kalara finally stopped in front of a heavy door. She pressed her hand against it, and the runes glowed brighter. With a deep rumble, the door slid open, revealing a chamber unlike anything Daniel had seen. Inside were carvings etched into the walls, strange figures of her people, tall and proud. But these carvings did not show battles or victories. They showed something else. Figures with their hands joined, eyes closed, faces softened with expressions. Daniel recognized instantly love, comfort, connection. Kalara entered slowly, her armor making a faint sound against the stone floor. Daniel followed, staring in awe at the carvings. "What is this place?" he asked quietly. Kalara's voice was calm but heavy with meaning. This is a chamber of secrets. Few are allowed here. Even fewer understand what they see. She turned to face him. Her eyes were sharp, but her voice lowered again. What you said to me, no one dares speak it. That word is not for warriors. It is for the weak. It is for those who let their hearts rule them. Daniel blinked, realizing slowly. You mean, your people don't use words like that? Her lips pressed into a thin line. No, we fight. We conquer. We do not blush. She hesitated on the last word, almost as if it burned her tongue. Her cheeks glowed faintly again, betraying the emotion she wanted to hide. Daniel almost smiled, but he stopped himself. This was dangerous. Too dangerous. I didn't mean to insult you, he said softly. It just slipped out. I was nervous. I didn't think. Kylara studied him in silence, her expression unreadable. Then she stepped closer. Yet you said it, and you made me react in front of my people. Her voice sharpened, though her eyes betrayed something else. Do you know what that means? Daniel shook his head. No. Kalara's eyes narrowed slightly. It means you've touched something forbidden. And now I must decide if that makes you dangerous or important. The chamber grew colder in Daniel's mind. He swallowed hard, trying to keep his voice steady. If I offended you, I'm sorry. But I wasn't trying to mock you. For a moment, silence filled the room. Only the faint hum of the glowing runes could be heard. Then Kalara leaned close, her voice almost a whisper. Say it again. Daniel blinked. You really want me to? Her hand gripped his arm, firm and unshuckable. Do not test me. Say it now. His breath caught in his chest. Every instinct told him it was dangerous. Yet something in her eyes, a strange mix of command and curiosity, made him obey. Lovely. The word hung in the air. The runes on the wall seemed to glow brighter for a moment, as if they too had heard. Kalara's hand loosened slightly. Her face softened, only for a second. Her eyes flickered with something she could not hide. Then, as quickly as it came, her cold mask returned. She released his arm and stepped back. You are bold, human. Too bold. If you are lying, her voice turned sharp again. You will not leave this planet alive. Daniel froze, his heart hammering. He didn't know if she was threatening him, testing him, or protecting something deep inside her. But he did know one thing. His life now hung on a single word. Secrets of her. People Daniel stood in silence as Kalara's warning echoed in his ears. If you are lying, you will not leave this planet alive. Her words carried the weight of truth. She wasn't the type to bluff. Yet behind her cold mask, there had been something else. A flicker, a weakness. And it all started with one word lovely. Daniel tried to steady his breathing as Kalara turned away from him. She ran her hand across the glowing runes carved into the wall. The lights shifted, forming shapes, almost like they were alive. He couldn't help but ask, his voice low but curious. What are those symbols? Kalara paused, her hand resting on the wall. For a long moment she said nothing. Then, finally, she spoke. They are memories, ancient ones, stories carved into stone by our ancestors. Each rune holds the truth of who we were, before we became what we are now. Daniel tilted his head, confused. Before? She turned her gaze on him, sharp and steady. We were not always warriors. Long ago, Evalari were different. We knew words like the one you spoke. We lived by them, but war changed us. We buried such things. We erased them. Only here, in chambers like this, do these memories survive. Daniel looked around the chamber again, his eyes moving from carving to carving. He saw tall alien figures, not holding weapons, but standing close to each other, hands joined, eyes full of warmth. He saw families, not soldiers. He saw a people that seemed alive with feeling, and then he saw a different carving, one that made his stomach twist. It showed the same figures, but now they were surrounded by fire and blades. Their warm eyes were gone, replaced with cold helmets and weapons. Kylara noticed where his gaze had landed. Her voice was bitter when she spoke. That was the day of transformation, when love was burned out of us, when the elders declared feeling a weakness. From then on, we became warriors, cold, unbreakable, or so they believe. Her hand brushed over her armor, almost like she was ashamed of it. For centuries, we were told that softness would destroy. U.S. And so, we destroyed it first. Daniel felt a strange sadness grow inside him. He looked at her, at the faint blush still clinging to her cheeks. And yet, you still feel it. Her eyes snapped toward him, fierce again. Careful, human. But he didn't back down. Something inside him pushed him to speak. You blushed when I said that word. You did, and you can't tell me it meant nothing. Her jaw tightened. She stepped closer, towering over him. For a moment, Daniel thought she might strike him. But instead, she whispered with quiet intensity. You don't understand what you've done? My people would call it betrayal. To feel, to blush, to be moved by a word, that is weakness. If the council believes it has taken root in me, they will end me. Daniel's chest tightened. End you? Just for blushing? Kalara's voice was sharp, but her eyes betrayed fear. Yes, to them I must remain untouchable, perfect, unbreakable. If they see me? Like that. She looked away, her hand clenching into a fist. They will not forgive me. Silence filled the chamber. Daniel's mind raced. He hadn't meant for this to happen. One careless word, and now her life might be in danger? I didn't want this, he said quietly. I was nervous. The words slipped out. I never wanted to put you at risk. Kalara turned back to him, her eyes softer now. She studied him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Finally, she let out a slow breath, and yet, part of me does not regret it. Daniel blinked. What? Her cheeks flushed faintly. Again, though her voice stayed steady. For the first time in many years, I felt something real, something alive. You made me feel it, human. That is both dangerous and unforgettable. Daniel's pulse quickened. He wasn't sure what to say. Before he could answer, the chamber door rumbled. Heavy footsteps echoed from the hall outside. Voices, sharp, angry voices. Kalara stiffened. Her eyes darted to the door. They followed us. The council does not trust you or me. Daniel's stomach dropped. What do we do? Kalara gripped her spear, her cold mask snapping back into place. We do nothing. I will deal with them. But remember this. Humans speak no word of what happened here. Not one. If they learn the truth? Her voice lowered again, her eyes locking on his. It will not be only me who suffers. They will kill you too. The footsteps stopped just outside. The heavy door began to grind open. Shadows stretched across the floor as the glow from the hall spilled inside. Daniel's breath caught his. Life, Kalara's secret, everything they were about to be exposed. Kalara leaned close, her whisper sharp as a blade. Stay silent. Let me speak. Your survival depends on it. The door slid fully open, and half a dozen armored council guards stormed into the chamber, weapons raised. One of them pointed at Daniel and shouted, Commander, this human has spoken forbidden words. Hand him over. Daniel's heart pounded. His eyes flicked to Kalara. For a single terrifying moment, he didn't know if she would protect him or hand him to his death. The guards demand, the chi demand. Chamber filled with the sound of boots striking stone. 6 guards, tall and armored in black steel, spread into the room. Their glowing visors locked onto Daniel, like hunters spotting prey. The leader stepped forward, his voice cold and sharp. "Commander Kelara, this human has broken our code. He spoke the forbidden word. We demand his surrender." Daniel's chest tightened. His eyes flicked toward Kelara. Her face was unreadable, her stance strong, her hand steady on the spear at her side. But inside, Daniel wondered, would she protect him or sacrifice him to protect herself? Kelara's voice rang through the chamber, firm and commanding. "You dare give demands to me in my own presence?" The guards froze, caught between fear and duty. The leader bowed slightly, but his tone stayed hard. "Forgive us, Commander, but the Council has ordered it. If the human's tongue has weakened your discipline, it threatens all of us. He must be dealt with." Daniel's blood ran cold. Dealt with. He didn't need a translator to know what that meant. Kelara stepped forward, placing herself between Daniel and the guards. Her spear's edge glowed faintly in the blue light of the chamber. "You forget yourselves. This human is under my authority. None may touch him without my command." The guards shifted uneasily, their armor clinking as they exchanged glances. The leader hesitated, but pushed back. "Commander, forgive me, but the Council fears what has happened. That word, it is poison. It infects the mind. Already we saw your reaction." Daniel felt the tension coil tighter. They saw her blush, he realized. They know something is different. Kelara's voice cut like steel. "What you saw was nothing. A test. Do you think me so weak that a single word could undo me?" Her glare pinned them in place. Even Daniel, standing behind her, felt the weight of it. She was defending herself, but also him. Still, the leader did not lower his weapon. "We cannot return to the Council empty-handed. They will demand proof of discipline, if not his blood. Then at least his silence." Daniel swallowed hard. He didn't like the sound of that. Kelara's grip tightened on her spear. For a moment, silence filled the room, sharp and heavy like a blade waiting to fall. Then she spoke. "Very well. If the Council demands proof, then they will have it, but not his death." The guards tilted their heads, confused. "Then, what will you give them?" Kelara turned slowly, her eyes locking onto Daniel. Her voice, lowered, carrying both warning and promise. His loyalty. Daniel blinked. "My what?" She didn't answer him. Instead, she faced the guards again. "He will swear himself to me, here and now. His voice will bind him. His silence will protect us. The Council will have no reason to doubt once he is mine." The guards shifted again, uneasy, but they did not object. The leader lowered his weapon slightly. If he swears and remains silent, the Council may accept it. Daniel's mind spun. Swear? Swear what? What was she binding him to? Kelara stepped close, her eyes burning into his. She spoke in a whisper only he could hear. "Do it. Say you are mine. Say nothing of what happened here. It is the only way we both survive." Daniel's heart pounded. He wanted to argue, to ask questions. But the guards' weapons were still raised. One wrong word, and he would be dead. He swallowed hard and nodded slowly. Facing the guards, Daniel forced his shaky voice to sound firm. "I swear my loyalty to Commander Kelara. I belong to her. My words, my silence, my life I give to her." The chamber went silent. Even the runes on the wall seemed to dim, listening. Kelara's face remained hard, but her eyes softened just for a second. Then she raised her spear and declared loudly, "You see? The human is mine. His voice is bound. His silence is assured. None may question it further. The guards hesitated, then slowly lowered their weapons. The leader bowed stiffly. "As you command, Commander. But know this, if he speaks the word again, the Council will not hesitate. Not even your protection will save him." With that, the guards turned and marched out, their heavy steps fading into the hall. The chamber door rumbled shut once more. Daniel let out the breath he had been holding. His knees felt weak, but he forced himself to stand tall. He looked at Kalara, his voice low. "You made me swear to you, like property." Kalara turned toward him, her armor gleaming in the soft light. For a moment, she said nothing. Then her voice came, steady but quieter. "Yes, to protect you, and to protect me." Daniel's eyes narrowed. "And what happens now?" Kalara stepped closer, her shadow falling over him. Her expression was unreadable, but her voice carried a strange weight. "Now, human, you are mine. And whether you meant it or not, your word has already begun to change everything." Daniel's heart raced. He didn't know if she meant it as a threat, or something far more dangerous. The bond deepens. The chamber felt heavier after the guards left. The silence was thick, pressing down on Daniel. He could still hear the echo of his own words. "I belong to her." He hadn't meant them. Not fully. But in that moment, with weapons pointed at him, what choice had he? Kalara stood in front of him, her face calm, her armor gleaming in the soft blue light of the runes. Yet, her eyes told a different story: conflict, struggle, something deeper than a warrior's mask could hide. Daniel finally broke the silence. "So that's it? I'm yours now, just like that?" Kalara's gaze locked onto his. "Yes, it was the only way to save us both." "Save us?" Daniel's voice rose, frustration leaking through. "You used me like a shield." "You didn't ask what I wanted. You just forced me into it." Her jaw tightened. "Would you rather be dead, human?" Daniel opened his mouth, then closed it. The truth was sharp. No, he didn't want to be dead, but still, the way she had claimed him felt wrong. Kalara stepped closer, her height casting a shadow over him. "Listen to me. What happened here is more dangerous than you understand. That word you spoke, it is forbidden because it awakens things we are not supposed to feel. Things the Council has buried for centuries. If they knew I blushed, if they knew I felt something, it would not just be you they destroy. It would be me as well." Daniel stared at her. For the first time, he truly saw the fear behind her strength. This proud, towering warrior terrified not of battle, but of a single feeling. "Kalara," he said softly, "you don't have to hide it from me." Her eyes flashed, but not with anger. With warning. "You don't understand. To admit weakness to anyone is dangerous. To admit it to you, an outsider, is madness." Daniel's voice lowered, almost a whisper. "But you already did. You let me see it." Her lips parted, but no words came. For a long moment, they just stood there, the silence humming with unspoken truth. Then Kalara turned away sharply, her hand brushing the ancient runes again. The glow reflected off her armor. "You are bound to me now. That means you live if I say so, and you die if I say so. But it also means I am responsible for you." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "So I'm your prisoner?" She turned back, her face unreadable. "No, you are something else. You are mine." Her voice lingered on that last word, and Daniel's heart skipped. There was no clear meaning behind it: ownership, protection, something more? He couldn't tell. Before he could reply, Kalara spoke again, softer this time. "Do you know what that word you spoke means to us?" Daniel shook his head slowly. "It is not just forbidden. It is sacred. Once, long ago, it was a vow. To call someone by that word was to give them your heart, your trust, your life. It was the deepest promise we knew. Daniel's breath caught. He hadn't known. He had just blurted the word out, nervous and clumsy. And yet, to her people, it was something holy. No wonder they fear it, he murmured. Ka-E-L-A-R-A nodded. Because once it is spoken, it cannot be taken back. That is why they tried to erase it. That is why the council fears it more than war. Daniel looked at her, his chest tight. Then when I said it to you, her eyes met his, steady, searching. You gave me something no one has given in generations. A word my people buried. A word I should hate. And yet, her voice faltered. For the first time, Kalara the unbreakable commander seemed uncertain. And yet, it made me feel alive. Daniel's heart pounded. He wanted to reach out, to bridge the distance between them, but he didn't. Something told him she wasn't ready for that. Not yet. Instead, he said quietly, maybe that's not weakness. Maybe that's strength. Her lips curved, almost, like the beginning of a smile, but it faded quickly. You speak as if you know better than centuries of my people's law. Maybe I do, Daniel said, because I've seen what happens when people give up on feelings. They lose what makes them human. Or Valeri. Her gaze softened, just for a heartbeat. Then she turned away again, hiding whatever war was raging inside her. But before Daniel could push further, the chamber shook. The stone walls trembled, dust falling from the ceiling. Kalara stiffened, her spear flashing into her hands. That was no earthquake. Someone has found us. Daniel's stomach twisted. The council? Kylara's face hardened again, the mask sliding back into place. No, worse. The runes on the walls flared suddenly, brighter than before. They pulsed like they were alive, reacting to something outside. Daniel's breath caught. What's happening? Kylara's voice was low, grim. The past has awakened. And now, so has the enemy. The chamber rumbled again, and this time Daniel heard it distant roars, metallic echoes, like something vast and ancient moving through the halls. Kalara raised her spear and looked at him. Her eyes were fierce, but not cold. Stay close. Human, you belong to me now, and I will not let them take you. Daniel's pulse raced as the sound of claws scraped against stone, drawing closer with every second. The enemy awakens. The chamber shook again, harder this time. Dust rained from the ceiling, the glowing runes flickering like frightened stars. Daniel's heart pounded as the sound of claws scraping stone echoed through the halls. Outside, Kalara's grip tightened on her spear, her tall frame tense, ready for battle. Her voice was steady, but low. They are here. Daniel swallowed. Who's they? Her eyes narrowed. The forgotten. Creatures our people locked away centuries ago. Monsters born of rage and shadow. I did not think they still lived. Daniel felt his blood run cold. And now they're awake? The sound grew louder, a deep, rumbling growl that shook his bones. A moment later, the massive stone doors of the chamber cracked, sharp claws punching through. Sparks flew as something scraped its way in. Kalara stepped forward, blocking Daniel with her body. Her spear hummed with energy, glowing brighter as the danger neared. Stay behind me, human, she ordered. Daniel wanted to argue, but when the doors burst open, all words left him. The creature that entered was huge, at least twice Kalara's height. Its body was black, like living stone, covered in jagged armor plates. Its eyes glowed a sickly green, burning with hunger. When it roared, the sound made Daniel's knees weaken. Kalara did not flinch. She spun her spear in her hands, the tip blazing with blue light. Back to the shadows where you belong, the creature lunged. Kalara moved like lightning, her spear slicing across its arm. A flash of blue fire tore through its armor, and the beast shrieked. Daniel stumbled back, pressing against the wall. His mind screamed at him to run, but his body froze. He could only watch as Kalara fought, her strikes fast, precise, almost beautiful in their deadly rhythm. But the beast was strong, too strong. Each blow it delivered shook the chamber, cracks splitting the stone floor. Kalara blocked one strike, then another, but the force sent her sliding back, her boots grinding against the ground. Daniel's chest tightened. She was powerful, yes, but she was not invincible. The beast's claws smashed into her side, throwing her against the wall. Her armor absorbed most of the blow, but she gritted her teeth in pain. Her spear flickered in her grip. Daniel's instincts screamed. He couldn't just stand there. He grabbed a loose piece of broken stone from the ground and hurled it at the creature's head. The rock bounced harmlessly off its armored skull, but the beast turned its gaze toward him. Daniel froze. Uh-oh. With a roar, the monster charged him. Daniel! Kalara shouted, leaping forward. She thrust her spear straight into its side, energy crackling through the wound. The beast shrieked and staggered, but it didn't fall. Its glowing eyes stayed locked on Daniel. Kalara moved fast, planting herself between them again. Her voice was sharp, desperate. "Stay down, human." Daniel ducked behind her, but his mind was racing. He couldn't fight like her, but maybe he could help in another way. His eyes darted around the chamber, the glowing runes, the cracks in the wall, the pulsing light. Something about them felt alive, like they were waiting for something. He shouted, "Kalara, the runes!" "They're reacting to the fight." She risked a quick glance. The walls pulsed brighter each time her spear struck the beast. The chamber wasn't just decoration, it was a weapon. Kalara's eyes widened. "You're right. The runes are connected." The beast lunged again. She spun, striking hard, and the runes flared brighter than ever. Daniel felt the air thrum with energy. "Daniel," she shouted, "touch the rune behind you. Now." He didn't hesitate. He pressed his hand against the glowing mark carved into the wall. The rune flared with light, sending a pulse across the chamber. The beast staggered, screeching as energy surged through the room. Kalara took the chance. With a fierce cry, she leapt high, driving her spear deep into the creature's chest. Blue fire erupted from the wound, and the runes around the chamber blazed like a storm. The beast shrieked one last time before collapsing, its body cracking apart like shattered stone. With a final hiss, it crumbled into dust. Silence. Daniel collapsed to his knees, breathing hard. His hand still tingled from the rune's energy. Slowly, he looked up at Kalara. She was panting, her armor dented, her face glistening with sweat. But she was alive. He managed a weak smile. Not bad for teamwork. Kalara looked down at him, her chest rising and falling. For a moment, her hard expression softened. "You were brave, human. Foolish, but brave." Daniel grinned faintly. "Story of my life." Kalara knelt beside him, her voice low, almost gentle. "You touched the rune as if it answered only to you. Perhaps it did. Perhaps it was waiting for you." Daniel blinked. "Me? Why would it wait for me?" Her eyes lingered on him, thoughtful. "Because maybe you are not here by accident. Maybe you were meant to find me and awaken what was buried." Daniel's heart skipped at her words. The way she looked at him, it wasn't just command anymore. It was something deeper, something dangerous. But before he could speak, the chamber rumbled again. More claws, more growls. Kalara rose to her feet, spear ready. She glanced at him, her eyes burning with fire. This was only the first. The others are coming. Daniel stood shakily, his hand brushing the glowing rune again. His voice was firm despite his fear. "Then we fight, together." Kalara's lips curved, almost into a smile. "Yes, together." The sound of the monsters drew closer, louder, shaking the ancient chamber. The bond between them had already begun to change everything. The last stand, the ground shook again, harder than before. From the tunnels beyond the chamber came the sound of claws and roars many. This time, not just one. The Forgotten were coming in a pack. Daniel's stomach tightened. He glanced at Kylara, who stood tall, her spear glowing bright, like a piece of lightning in her hands. Her armor was cracked, her breathing heavy, but her eyes still burned with fire. How many? Daniel whispered Datka Elar. I listened. The growls grew louder, closer. At least 6, maybe more. Daniel swallowed hard. 6 of those things? We barely killed one. Kylara turned to him, her face calm, but her voice firm. Then we do not fight them with just steel. We fight them with the chamber itself. The runes respond to you, human. That is our only chance. Daniel stared at the glowing marks on the walls. His chest tightened. He wasn't a soldier, not. Like her, he had never fought monsters, never held a weapon like hers. And yet, somehow, these runes, this ancient power had answered him. But what if I can't control it? He said. Kylara stepped closer, her tall frame casting a shadow over him. She leaned down, her voice low, steady. Then you must trust me, and I will trust you. Daniel looked up at her. For the first time, he saw not just a warrior, but someone who believed in him. His fear didn't vanish, but something stronger rose inside him. He nodded. All right, together. The doors burst open. 6 Forgotten stormed in, their jagged bodies scraping the stone, their green eyes burning with hunger. The ground shook with every step as they circled, growling, their claws dripping with dark energy. Kylara spun her spear. Stay close. The first beast lunged, but Daniel slapped his hand against a glowing rune. The wall blazed with blue fire, a wave of energy slamming into the monster and knocking it back. Kylara's spear struck the second, her attack perfectly timed with the rune's pulse. The chamber itself seemed alive now, answering their movements. Daniel ran along the wall, pressing his palms to room after room. Each one sent blasts of light, forcing the creatures back. For the first time, he felt like part of the fight. Kylara moved like a storm, her spear flashing arcs of blue fire. Every time she struck, Daniel felt the runes respond, as if the two of them were connected, warrior and human, armor and heart. But the beasts were relentless. One slammed into Daniel, throwing him to the floor. His head spun, his hand scraping. Across the stone, the monster loomed above him, claws raised. Daniel! Kylara's voice ripped through the air. She hurled her spear like a lightning bolt. It pierced the monster's chest, exploding in fire and dust. The beast fell, and Kylara was beside him in seconds, pulling him up. Her hand gripped his arm tight, her voice fierce. Stay with me, Daniel gasped, nodding. I'm not going anywhere. But the battle was far from over. More monsters pressed in, their roars shaking the chamber. The runes flickered wildly, almost unstable, like they were reaching their limit. Kylara's eyes darted to the center of the room, where the largest rune pulsed like a beating heart. Daniel, the center rune. It holds them all. If you awaken, the chamber will destroy everything inside. Daniel froze. Everything? You mean us too? She didn't answer at first. Then softly, yes, it will end them. And us. The truth hit him like a blade. To win, they might have to sacrifice themselves. Kylara's gaze locked on his, steady and unflinching. You are human. You know sacrifice better than any species. That is why I trust you. Daniel's throat tightened. In her eyes he saw no fear, only resolve. And something else, a warmth that had been growing since the moment he called her. Lovely. He took a deep breath. If we do this, I don't regret it. Not meeting you. Not calling you that word. Not any of it. For the first time, Kalara truly smiled. A real smile, soft and almost fragile. Say it again, human. Daniel's heart pounded. He looked straight into her eyes and whispered, lovely. Her smile widened, and for a heartbeat, her blush returned. Then the monsters roared and charged. Daniel sprinted to the center room. He slammed his hand against it. Light exploded outward, blinding, roaring like thunder. The entire chamber lit up, walls shaking as the runes connected into one blazing network. The Forgotten shrieked, their bodies cracking, earning, turning to dust under the force of the ancient power. Kalara stood beside Daniel, her hand gripping his shoulder. Hold on. The light swallowed everything. When Daniel opened his eyes, the chamber was silent. The beasts were gone. Only ashes remained. He blinked. He was alive. Somehow Elara stood near him, her armor scorched, her face pale. But she was alive too. The runes had gone dark, their power spent. He stared at her in disbelief. We made it. She nodded slowly. Yes, we did. Daniel laughed weakly, sinking to the floor. Remind me never to call you anything by mistake. Again, Kalara stepped closer, kneeling in front of him. Her hand touched his cheek gently, her eyes soft. No, Daniel, she whispered. Call me lovely again, always. For the first time since they met, there was no fear, no mask, no counsel, no monsters, just the two of them, bound by a word that changed everything. And somewhere deep inside, Daniel knew this was only the beginning.